She stood at the edge of my new driveway, waving her arms like she was directing traffic. "You can't park here. This road belongs to us." Her voice was sharp enough to slice through the calm air by the lake. I had just pulled up with a U-Haul full of boxes, my wife carrying a lamp in her arms when the screeching sound of her voice hit us. Before I could even answer, she snapped a picture of my truck and pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the cops right now. You're trespassing." I looked around. The cabin stood quiet behind me, the same one I had just signed the papers for. The land stretched wide and peaceful, nothing but trees and water. Yet here she was, acting like she owned the whole place. My wife whispered, "She doesn't even know we bought it." I kept calm, but my chest burned. Karen didn't wait. She dialed and started shouting into her phone. "Yes, officer, we've got an intruder trying to take over our private road. Yes, send someone fast." She glanced at me like she'd already won. My wife clenched her jaw. Minutes later, the distant sound of sirens echoed through the woods. Karen crossed her arms and smirked. "They're coming for you. You'll regret trying to move here." She spoke loud enough for everyone on the street to hear. My hands tightened on the truck door, but I stayed silent. When the patrol car pulled up, 2 officers stepped out. Karen rushed over before they could even ask a question. "That's him. Arrest him right now. He's trespassing on our HOA road. He doesn't belong here." She pointed at me like I was some kind of criminal. The officers looked at me, then at her, clearly confused. I took a slow breath, pulled a folded paper from my jacket, and held it out. "Before you listen to her," I said calmly, "you should see this." Karen froze, her eyes narrowing. She didn't know what was coming. And that's when everything started to shift. The taller officer took the paper from my hand, unfolding it slowly as Karen hovered at his shoulder, barking, "Don't waste your time. He forged that. He's lying." But when his eyes scanned the document, his brows rose. He looked at his partner, then back at me. "This is a deed." "Correct," I said, steady and calm. "Filed last week, signed, notarized, and recorded at the county courthouse. This cabin, this property, and the road leading to it belong to me." Karen's face twisted. "That's impossible. This road is HOA property. Everyone pays for it. He can't just take it." Her voice cracked with fury, but a flicker of doubt showed in her eyes. The shorter officer tilted his head. "Ma'am, this shows he purchased not only the cabin, but also the right of way to this road. It's legally his access." Karen's jaw dropped. No, he can't own my road." I gave a small shrug, though my pulse was racing. "Funny thing is, Karen, it's not just access. This paper shows the road is now part of my land, which means—" I paused, watching her pale. "You drive on my property every single day." Her hands trembled, but she tried to cover it with rage. "This is fraud. You're scamming the entire neighborhood. I'll get the HOA president here. He'll shut this down." The officers exchanged a look, clearly tired of her theatrics. One of them muttered, "Ma'am, you might want to calm down before this goes any further." Karen whipped around to me, pointing her finger like a dagger. "You think you've won? You have no idea who you're messing with. I'll destroy you." I just leaned against my truck, letting the silence stretch. "Funny," I said softly. "I was thinking the same thing about you." Karen didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. She stormed off down the gravel road, heels crunching like gunshots against the dirt. She was shouting into her phone, pacing back and forth, her words sharp and frantic. "Get over here right now! This lunatic thinks he owns the road! Bring the HOA papers! We're shutting him down today!" The officers stayed near me, their eyes cautious, as if they already knew who the real problem was. My wife leaned close and whispered, "She won't stop, will she?" I shook my head. 10 minutes later, a shiny black SUV rolled up fast, stopping just inches from my truck. Out stepped a man in a pressed polo shirt, sunglasses, and a smug grin that matched Karen's fire. He strutted forward, holding a thick folder. "I'm the HOA president," he announced loudly, making sure the officers heard. "This man has no rights here. The HOA controls this road, and he's trespassing. Arrest him immediately." Karen folded her arms in triumph, nodding like she had just summoned her knight. "See? Told you he's finished." The president pulled out a stapled notice and waved it in my face. "Pack up your junk. You're not welcome here. This paper proves it." I didn't even flinch. Slowly, I reached back into my truck, pulled out another folder, thicker than his, and handed it to the officers. "You might want to compare his little notice with my recorded deed. Then tell me who's trespassing on whose land." The taller officer took both folders, flipping through them. His partner leaned over his shoulder, eyebrows raising with every page. Karen and the president stood side by side, smirking like they were seconds away from celebrating. But then the officer looked up. "Sir, your documents are legal. County seal, signatures, everything checks. And this paper you handed me? It's nothing but an unsigned letter with a fake HOA watermark." Karen's mouth fell open. The president's smug grin vanished. "Fake," he repeated, his voice cutting sharp. "This isn't fraud. It's just a draft. We were going to finalize it." Karen jumped in, desperate. "Don't listen to him. He's lying. They're lying together. He tricked the system somehow. Nobody just buys a road." She jabbed a finger at me, trembling with rage. "He's some kind of scammer." I finally pushed off my truck, stepping closer, my voice low and steady. "Funny, because I didn't trick anyone. I didn't need to. I work with the county registrar's office. I process deeds every single day, which means I know exactly what paperwork looks real and what looks fake." The officers froze, glancing at each other. Karen's face drained of color. The president swallowed hard. You work for the county?" the shorter officer asked. I nodded. "For 10 years. And I knew this cabin was tied up in old property disputes. That's why I moved fast, bought it, filed it. And guess what?" I held their gaze, letting the silence stretch. "The road was included, legal and clean." Karen's voice cracked. You set us up." I smiled faintly. "No, you set yourself up by thinking you owned what you didn't." The taller officer turned back to the president, his tone sharp now. "Sir, do you understand how serious it is to hand over forged documents to law enforcement? That's a crime." The president's bravado crumbled. "I didn't mean— Karen told me it was fine." Karen snapped, "Don't you dare blame this on me! You signed off on it!" Their alliance shattered right there on the gravel, both pointing fingers at each other as the officers stepped between them. My wife, standing quietly by my side, whispered, "They're eating each other alive." I just kept my eyes on Karen because I knew the worst twist was still to come. The taller officer raised a hand, cutting through their shouting. "Enough, both of you, quiet!" His voice echoed through the trees, sharp and commanding. Karen and the president froze, breathing hard, still glaring at each other. The officer opened his radio, speaking low. "Dispatch, can you run a check on Karen Dodson, HOA member?" His eyes never left her while he waited. Karen's face twitched. "Why are you checking me? He's the criminal here." She jabbed a finger toward me again, but her hand shook now. The radio crackled back after a pause. "Copy that. Subject has 2 prior reports, false police calls, 1 pending investigation for harassment. Court date scheduled next month." The air went heavy. The shorter officer turned to Karen slowly. "You've called in fake reports before." Karen's lips trembled. That was a misunderstanding. People exaggerate." I stepped closer, my voice calm but cutting. "So when you screamed to the cops that I was trespassing, it wasn't the first time you tried to ruin someone with lies?" The president's jaw dropped. "Wait, you didn't tell me you were already under investigation?" Karen spun on him wild-eyed. "Shut up! You signed the papers, you coward!" The officers exchanged a look, one of them muttering under his breath.